All right, Seth here. We are out here at the build, and as you can tell, it's pretty snowy out here. We got about a foot of snow, so let's go check on these footings. We're supposed to get the walls poured maybe Friday or something. Today's Wednesday. It's supposed to warm up a little bit, so we got to get all the snow off the footings and stuff. So let's go take a look. Oh man, you can tell those are all the rebar caps and everything like that. Those are like 18-inch pieces of rebar sticking out of the concrete. So what we're gonna have to do is dump the snow blower down in there and snow blow all the snow out before we can get our walls up. All right, here's another look at the footings we have in over here. Just kind of for reference, those are sticking out of the ground maybe 5 inches, and those are 18-inch tall like pieces of rebar that are sticking out. So we've got a lot of snow to move over here. All right, what's happening? So we are out here at the Spec build. As you can tell behind me, we got the walls poured yesterday. They're all in and ready to go. We had a little weather window, so we were able to get the walls poured, got all the snow off the footings, got the footings dried out. Then they poured the walls yesterday, so let's kind of take a look and I'll show you how everything is put together on these walls. All right, so pretty much to make everything totally square with these walls, there's a couple different things to them. These are advanced forms. They're called like ply forms or whatever. They're not like a Simon steel form. They're just more of like a ply form, which is like a multi-layered like plywood, pretty much. But how they come together is they have brackets on them with a wall tie in the middle. I'll get you a closer video of that too. So you take this buckle, you put the wall tie in the middle, and then you pull the wall tie tight, you flap this buckle over, hit it with the hammer, and it locks both sides of the forms in. So you have the inside form, you have the outside form. So what that wall tie does is it actually locks the forms together, so when you put the concrete in the wall can't expand wider than your 8-inch wall. It's just, there's like Simons are different forms. These are advanced. It all depends on whatever your concrete guy wants to use. So another thing when you're forming up these walls is you can see that there's a string here and it's really tight. So they have a nail put into the form here, and it goes all the way from this wall down to the other side of the wall. You can tell this wall's totally straight. Well, what you do with this string is you take a tape measure and you look, normally it's like 2 inches. So you come all the way across here and you move your tape measure and put it 2 inches away, so you know that your wall is totally straight. So if you're like 1 inch over here, you need to kick the wall over a little bit that way for it to be straight. Essentially, a string line is a good way to get a dead straight path from point A to point B. So the string line is just a reference to keep their forms totally straight in line. Now, another thing with the walls is, so obviously your boards or your lid, like your 2x4 boards, are going to be anchored to the wall, right? So these are actually anchor bolts is what they call them. And you can tell they go all the way down the side. They're in a straight line. So your framer, when he comes over here to put the lid on, he puts his board over here, puts the board down with a vapor barrier, and then puts a nut on the top of this bolt, and that essentially bolts the wood to the concrete foundation. Now these anchor bolts are like 8 inches long, and they're like a J-bolt on the bottom. So they go down quite a ways into your concrete foundation, and they essentially hold the wood to the actual concrete. Another thing with these walls is you can tell they have a board here, and there's 2 different elevations. So this is the garage that we're looking at here, and the garage has different blockouts. Blockout meaning that it's just comes lower in to where your actual garage doors are going to be. And so this blockout, they're usually like 16, 18 inches, something like that. So this block out is done by just a piece of 2x4 in here. And so it just makes it so this part of the garage door is lower than the actual wall itself. So then what we're gonna do is, after this gets totally backfilled on the inside, then the concrete flat work will actually come up about 4 inches over top of this wall that's being poured, or that has been poured. And so your flat work in your garage is usually going to slope about 3 inches to the front here, front doors. And so like if your car is ever wet in your garage, everything will drain out. But that's what the block outs are called. And they're also on the doors too. See, in the corner of that garage over here, we have a regular door out the side of your garage, and it has a block out too. And it has the same thing. So it's just formed in there with a 2x4 with an elevation change to the top of the wall. So another way to keep these walls totally straight, and this is one thing you really want to pay attention to when these guys are pouring walls, is they have kickers, which is pretty much just like a support to the side of the wall. You can tell that's a kicker. This is a kicker right here. And that essentially just keeps the wall straight. Just puts a little more pressure on the wall to make sure it's totally straight. And they'll also screw, as you can tell, this whole entire wall here has a 2x4 screwed into the side of it. And what that does is keep that wall totally straight by linking all the forms together a little bit better. All right, so here's like some of these forms that they're using. These ones are just off to the side. So this is the turnbuckle that I was telling you about. So what you do is you put your wall tie in right here, and it sits right there. Then when you pull this over, it hooks into that wall tie and sits just like this. So as you can tell on one of these, here's that actual wall tie. So the wall tie is right here, and that comes over the top and locks to the next panel. And so you can tell every single panel is locked together. From one to the next, they're all locked together with those same buckles with a wall tie in the middle. Now another thing is too, these guys you have odd, these are like 2 foot or 18-inch panels, concrete panels. Well, a lot of the times you need filler panels. Well, these filler panels will be like 12 inches or 6 inches or 8 inches, whatever you need to complete the distance to the corner, like to fit with the plans. So there's a lot of like filler panels and corners, and so not all these concrete forms are the same size. As you can tell, they're all totally, most of them are the same, but this one's shorter than that one in the middle, and so on and so forth, whatever you have to do to make the wall fit. So another part of this foundation is the interior footing. So what the interior footings do is, this will be a crawl space. So this is a 3'10" wall on top of an 8-inch footer. So these footings will actually be supported by wood. So your framer is going to come in here and actually set his wood, his framing, on the actual footing itself to make the inside of this wall. So it's not a concrete wall on the inside in the crawl space, it's just a wood wall essentially. All right, so here is another block out. This is on the opposite side of the garage that we were at first, but you can tell that this wall just is a lot deeper here than it is on the top here. So pretty much what that is just a door space where you're going to have an actual door that might be a little bit lower than the top of the foundation wall. All right, so if anybody know what this is actually a Ufer ground. It's like a ground rod essentially. Some guy named Ufer came up with it forever ago. I had an electrician tell me that. That what it does is, this rod goes all the way into the footing, underneath the footing, up through the wall, and hooks into your electrical panel. This actually grounds your whole entire house. So if you were ever to get struck by lightning, the lightning will go straight down, technically, into the ground. So, pretty interesting. rod. So everything is coming along just fine on the old project build out here at 6533 Chimney Rock. We kind of lucked out to get these walls in with the weather window here just due to the climate here in Billings. But now we're ready to go. So these guys will come and strip the wall panels off of the walls. Then the interior will get gravelled around the footings, so the gravel will be as high as the footings. And then the plumber will come in for a ground rough. So a ground rough just simply means he puts the plumbing into the crawl space side of your basement pretty much. And so he'll like plumb it for toilets and stuff like that, water lines, all the plumbing pretty much. And then after that happens, then they'll pour the floor in the crawl space side of the basement, and then we'll go ahead and backfill this whole entire inside the garage, around the whole house. We'll get it all backfilled and everything, and then we'll gravel the garage, pour the garage floor, and then we'll be ready for the framers to start coming in and framing everything up. So quite a few steps. This is a busy process whenever you get a house at this phase right here.